The Cubs win a game convincingly, finally, and the Chicago Bears are back to playing football.
Yeah, no side noise. Shot City day. Joey and Sam. Lock it in. Wind blow all the spin. Cup talk, yeah, tap in. And with a heartbeat, couple quick.
Welcome to the Shy City Den. I am Joey Glickman alongside Sam Van Cleve. We're breaking down the biggest stories, biggest games, and all things Chicago sports. If it's happening in Chicago, we're talking about it. We got a packed show ahead of us. We're going to talk about the Cubs' struggles, although winning convincingly today. We're going to talk about the Bears being back at minicamp. Saw some flashes there this week, and the Chicago White Sox may officially be a good ball club. So a packed show ahead of us, but we start with the Cubs, Sam. Cubs lose the first two games against one of, if not the worst team in all of Major League Baseball. Wednesday being a dramatic loss, but Tuesday night, not really a close ball game. Lose 7-3. Colin Ray was awful. Head to Wednesday, Cubs get walked off. Jacob Webb gives up a two-run homer in the bottom half of the eighth inning. Not Jacob Webb's fault or not Daniel Palencia's fault for blowing that game. It's the offense's fault for not scoring more than 2 runs. And then the Cubs winning today convincingly by a score of 9-3. Let's start with Tuesday night. Colin Ray was not good at all. He gives up. He goes 4 2/3, 9 hits, 7 earned, 2 strikeouts. His ERA jumps up to a whopping 5.19. Colin Ray was just not good in this game, Sam, and obviously, with JMO going out on Sunday night, you're going to need him to step up.
Yeah, absolutely. And my kind of problem with this whole Colorado series was how we kind of came into it and approached it. Especially when you're pitching in Coors, you don't want to let free base runners on, and you don't want to strike out when you're hitting at Coors because it's obviously such a hitter-friendly ballpark with the elevation change. And we failed to execute at both of those things. We were K'ing a lot, not getting great barrel on baseballs, and obviously our pitchers were letting free base runners, and that turned into a lot of extra base hits for the Rockies over the series. And unfortunately, we ended on a high note today, but scoring 1 run off a ground ball off Michael Lorenzen is just not going to cut it. Coming in, I think you posted on our account, he had a 1.99 whip entering that game, and we still couldn't put more
Couldn't
than
get
one
a
run
base
across
hit.
the board.
Couldn't get a base hit. He's
Yeah,
one of the worst. No, he's actually not one of. He is the worst qualified pitcher in baseball, and they managed. How many hits did they get yesterday? 4 base hits.
yes. I
Um,
mean, it was pulling teeth to get on base even.
the only way they scored off of him was an RBI ground out by Moises, who's showing honestly signs he should start playing more and more.
Yes.
But the just the ineptitude of this offense the past 3 weeks plus is just it's just a boring watch, Sam. I was so close to switching the Cubs game into the NBA Finals, which by the way, go Knicks go. Um, but it's just not a fun watch, and it's not exciting. One, two, like I don't have any motivation to go and watch this team right now.
No,
Yes, they
no.
won today, but I don't
Dude,
have. Go ahead.
it literally feels like such a lifeless organization right now from top down. Like
Lifeless.
the broadcast just feels so bland, depressing. Obviously our play is translating to that as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm fully behind you on that. It's actually such a terrible watch right now, but I still find myself watching every day because I guess me and you are just wired like that.
Right, and I'm going to put my hand up on this one. I haven't listened to a Boo broadcast in probably close to a month now. reached the point in the marquee broadcast where I'm timing up Pat Hughes on the radio on my computer and putting the TV on mute. It's reached that point. It's reached the point where they don't care. It seems like I don't know what happened to this organization. This organization cared so much about winning and building the next great Cubs team, but the way they go about it, no emotion. They look lifeless on the baseball field, both on and off, really. Craig Counsell looks uninterested. Yes, he got tossed today, but you see him in the dugout, he just looks just not engaged at all. Um, I don't know if there's some tension in the locker room with that. I don't know the answer to that. It seems like this isn't the group to have tension in the locker room. They got a go. They do have a bunch of good dudes in that clubhouse, but um, yeah, it's just a boring watch, Sam. And going to yesterday, the the game was not on the bullpen's fault. The game was not on Jacob Webb or Daniel Palencia. It was all on the offense. The entire blame should be put on the offense. Jacob Webb has been phenomenal this year since Sam brought his name up about 6 weeks ago. Um, that was probably his first earned run since then. But he's proved that he's a high leverage guy, and yes, pitchers are going to give up runs. That's just the name of the game. But when you score 2 runs at Coors Field, you don't deserve to win the baseball game at all. And quite frankly, I mean, they really had 1 run. Besides the Ian Happ home run in the top of the ninth, they had 1 run going into the ninth. Um,
Just can't win like that, and
can't win
especially
like
like
that.
Brewers, like you said.
And it's been this way for so
Yes.
long where you don't trust them to turn it around. Yes, obviously, the two of us will be the first to say it. We want this to turn around, without a doubt. But it just doesn't seem like this is going to turn out, you know, that this is going to turn around anytime soon.
Yeah, and the outlook for me just looks kind of bleak in the sense like, if we win a series, great, but like I think this team has a strict ceiling on it, I should say. I really don't see this team making a run past the wild card or their NLDS, and I don't think we're strong enough for to that point yet. And it just seems like we're stuck in a lot of mediocre contracts that we need to either get out of or get some young talent for. So that's kind of where
I
my
don't
head.
think we've reached that point. I just don't think we've reached that point just yet, just because it's still early.
I mean, we're 1 game above 500
I
right now.
understand.
What
I get that. I understand, but like, there's still
in
over.
this 7 game series, like I just don't like we just don't have enough firepower in the pitching staff, the bullpen. I just think we're so shallow there right now, and it obviously as well doesn't help that our offense is so inconsistent.
Right, but again, this is baseball. Teams go in rough stretches. Usually, they don't go in these rough stretches for this long. Um, but I do have a little sliver of hope that this will turn around and they will get hot. And let's talk about today, which could be a momentum swing for the third time. We've had this conversation twice already. Let's have it for a third time. A win boosting a momentum swing. I'm gonna make a case to say as the tornado siren goes off. I'm gonna make a case that this win was a bigger momentum swing than the past 2 wins, the walk off against the Giants and the walk off against the A's. And that's just because they scored a lot of runs. They got on the board. Suzuki hit a grand slam that I feel like lifted this group a little bit. Bregman hit a home run for the first time in a long, long, long time. Um, but I feel like the approaches were a lot better today. Um, it seemed like Bregman kind of, from the looks of it, kind of changed his swing a little bit, kind of going back to that 2017, 2018 swing where he's got that bat resting on his shoulders right before he loads to swing. Keep an eye on that next time you watch a Cubs game. But yes, they need to win a series first before I can see real momentum. However, this scoring 9 runs can be a lift.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, keep in mind we haven't won a series, I think, since dating back to that Red series at home, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, no, you're right.
Yeah, Pete hit the game tire in the ninth.
Wait,
Yeah,
real quick. They haven't won it. Wait, real quick. Before I'm just gonna interrupt you. They haven't won a first game of the series since that White Sox series at the Ray Field.
and we lost that series too, so
Yep.
that didn't even end up mattering.
No.
But yeah, I do feel like if there's a positive outlook from today, it's Pete continuing the on base streak and putting together some awesome at bats. His bat has looked incredible, and he was flashing the glove and flashing the leather out in center today. Him and Michael Buschy have been two of our best hitters the past couple weeks, and it's been a bright spot at the very least to see those two guys kind of catch a little hot streak and from their slow starts and start to heat up here a little bit. So we'll see if they can keep it going. I think Pete's he's climbed his slug all the way up to second on the team by Ian Happ, I want to say. So the slug it seems to be back with him with Pete.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's a sign I love to see. And another thing, yeah, I mean, as much as we are struggling, it's nice to see Counsell stand up for that BS call that went down
That was
today.
insane.
Yeah, that I mean,
How do you miss that?
how do you replay that too and not overturn that? That was so clear. Like,
No, they didn't go to New York for that, but they did convene. The four umps convened, and they no one could convince anyone that that was a foul ball. It was clear as day, like
well, yeah, for
clear
one,
as
nobody
day.
moved. Nobody moved. I
Nobody
mean,
moved.
double play, but like nobody was moving on the field. Like
Yeah,
if
and
that's not a dead giveaway of a foul ball, like the runner, I forget who was on first for us, but he didn't even take off. He stayed on the bag. Like,
right. And
uh,
Council was not leaving until he got tossed.
yeah,
He stood
he
there.
lit both
He was
arms
just
up.
waiting to get tossed.
He
Yeah,
went to the first base one
yeah,
first, and then after he was done with him, he went back to the home plate up
yeah.
and
He
got.
was wait. He wanted to get tossed. He
Yeah,
100%.
that
100%.
was all. So I feel like yeah, if there's a game in the last three that could hype this group up a little bit and get back on the winning side of things, I feel like it's today with Counsell showing some emotion and standing up for Mo. But yeah, it was a good game to end the weekend with, or to not end the weekend with, start the weekend off, I should say. As we got, who do we have tomorrow?
We got
We're in today with
three
San Fran.
three against San Francisco. I'll preview the matchup. There's two late starts and a 2:10 start. Javier Assad will make his first start in a while after being phenomenal last Sunday night against what's his
Just
first name? What's Roop's first name? Landon Roop. Ben Brown goes Saturday night against that Trevor McDonald guy. He started on Sunday night. He was lights out on Sunday night. And then Colin Ray goes against Logan Webb. So definitely an advantage Giants on that Sunday matinee. Um, Find a way
Yep.
to win a series for the first time in a long time. I would say Friday is definitely a toss up. I would say Saturday is probably advantage Cubs, and Sunday is definitely advantage Giants. So find a way to win a series.
This is the team we just saw too. Like they beat us in our own home turf. We gotta repay the favor, and it's not easy sailing to play in San Fran and on the Bay at all. If that ocean mist is breezing in, it's gonna be rough going for the hitters, especially for the left-handed hitters, as the right center alley is deep in San Fran. So we're gonna need to definitely bring the bats for this series
For
if
sure.
we want to get off the schneid here.
For sure. For sure. That's enough Cubs talk for this episode. Let's talk a little bit about the White Sox. They have looked tremendous. They got rained out tonight, So I guess technically it's a two-game sweep of the Atlanta Braves. A dramatic win on Tuesday night as Braden Montgomery, in his first game in the big leagues, hits a walk-off two-run homer with 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th inning to beat the Braves. And then yesterday, they hung on to win. Bullpen shut it down and win 2-1. Sam, I know you don't watch many White Sox games. I obviously don't, but you obviously follow baseball in general. Does this team have a legit shot at making the playoffs?
Dude, absolutely I think it does. One, it's a young core, so I really think that as the season goes on, this young core will continue to get better as they get more ABs under them, more innings under them. So yes, I do think this is absolutely a team that can make it to the postseason and even make some noise. You never know what happens once you get in. All you got to do is find that spot, find that way to get in, and with how the AL Central's looked the past couple of years, it shouldn't take much to not only win the division, but perhaps give yourself a shot at something more. So I absolutely think this team has a shot at the playoffs, and with how they're playing recently, they just took two straight from one of the best teams in baseball right now, and that was a lineup that they slowed down a lot. I should say. Matt Olson had his go in Chicago. I saw over these past few days, but they for the majority held that lineup at bay, which was extremely impressive.
I think the main component of sustaining this is to be able to tread water while Murakami is out. I think he's going to be back in probably a little bit over a month. Can they sustain this little bit, sticking above 500 here? And, by the time he comes back, it's probably going to be around July 4th, maybe a little bit later than that. Do they go get a veteran pitcher in a Jack Flaherty, or I'm trying to think of other names. Are there any veteran starters that could be available for them?
I mean, there's definitely going to be
Robbie
a ton.
Ray maybe comes to mind.
Yeah, the Giants seem like a seller to me, at
Yeah,
least at least right now, especially in that division.
right. Like someone along those lines to go out and get and kind of boost their rotation if they're, you know, I think the only way that Chris Getz goes and gets someone like Flaherty or Robbie Ray or someone along those lines is if they're firmly in a playoff position. I honestly, if it were up to me, I'd probably do it and get a starter or two, but I think they'd have to be firmly in a playoff spot to risk and give away some young talent to make a push for the playoffs. Um, but like this AL Central is weak, Sam. Very
Yeah,
weak.
that's what I'm saying.
Like they're a half game up on Cleveland. I think still. I don't know what Cleveland did tonight. If they even played, I don't know if they've even played. But they're in first place in the AL Central, and yes, it's still early, but it's not like super early. Like we're almost into the dog days of summer, and the next checkpoint's July 4th. And if they're still in playoff conversations by then, that would be massive.
Yeah, and if, like you said, July 4th rolls around and they've put themselves in a pretty solid spot to contend. I'm kind of thinking, why not go for it? Why not, go out and add a bullpen arm, go out and add a veteran starter? Because, adding bullpen and adding starter depth is never going to hurt once October rolls around. But this group has really been a joy to watch, and it's brought some fire back to the South Side, which is awesome. It's great to see, really, because of how bad we're slumping right now. At least they're making some noise in Chicago. But yeah, that young core they have with just Meadroth, Miguel Vargas has been a stud. Obviously,
Also,
Brandon Montgomery's on a tear since he's been called up, which is
yeah,
awesome. Colson Montgomery as well.
yeah.
They really just have a lot of fun young pieces that can flat out hit and have great diamond instincts. I feel like so. Yes, once October rolls around, I would not be surprised to see the White Sox the winners of the AL Central.
And they have multiple all-stars, I think, in July for
Yeah.
sure. I think Colson Montgomery should be an all-star. I think Vargas should probably be an all-star. I think Davis Martin should be in conversation. Who'd you say?
Murakami will, even though with the injury.
Murakami probably will, yes. I mean, that's a lot of guys to get in the
And
all-star.
like they have a lot of like young, intriguing arms too. Noah Schultz is one that's
Grant Taylor is a beast, man, in that back end of the bullpen. He pumps, dude. But they got a bunch of young arms. They really do.
yeah. They really have in their farm system. They just made a trade today. I forget the two prospects they got.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's what you like to see. Keep building the farm up, and because you're gonna want farm depth once the deadline rolls around and you're in a position to go for it.
Right. Right. I will actually be there tomorrow with Nick Diaz. If you haven't heard, he made the theme song for this very pod. First time at the Rate Field since my summer going in the freshman year of college. So 5 years ago was the last time I was at the Rate Field. Honestly, kind of looking forward to just sitting there as a baseball fan and just watching baseball without being stressed out about my team.
They got tomorrow.
They got the Dodgers. They got the Dodgers. I wanted to go. I wanted to see the Dodgers, and I'm sure I'll probably see them when they come to Wrigley. But I think that park will be bumping tomorrow on the south side of Chicago. Moving on, the Chicago Bears are back at Hallis Hall before they head out for the summer. Before training camp, they head out for probably a month. A lot of notes to go over a little bit for this week from minicamp. I saw Caleb make some nice throws. I saw Kobe Bryant have an interception or two. There's just a lot of buzz surrounding this team. Still super early, but I don't think I've ever had this much buzz surrounding the Bears in a long time. I mean, Caleb on the cover of Madden definitely creates some more buzz, but have you ever seen as much buzz at Hallis Hall?
No, I mean we're certainly not used to mini camp rolling around and all that's coming out is positives.
Right.
I also listened to all the Ben pressers this week, and he kept emphasizing how motivated and how hungry and willing to work this young group of players is, and that's honestly so good to hear. Just because in the past we haven't had that certain buy-in that we've heard from Montez Sweat coming out recently, of how much he and Ben have now clicked it this offseason. So just stuff like that, relationships, continuity is going to be so big and so crucial for this group, and it's so great to hear that all the positives coming out are, work ethic based and how hungry these guys are. Because even though we won the division last year, I know for certain in that locker room, they knew they came up short and they knew they could have, gone to Seattle and made some noise. So it's really, awesome to see. And I really like how Ben is kind of, laying the groundwork and, hey, we made it to the NFC divisional round last year. We're back to ground zero this year, and that starts in, early spring, and obviously it's going to start here in training camp. But some of the main talking points I kind of wanted to hit on were, how hungry of a group this is, major improvements from last year at this time with Caleb in the offense. Last year at this time, he couldn't even break a simple huddle, and, all of Ben's verbiage and whatnot he had to get down. This year, going into training camp, headed into training camp, we're looking at Caleb trying to get more efficient with the football, more efficient with his completions. So that's kind of going to be my thing I'm looking for throughout all of training camp, is how much more efficient this operation can get as a whole. And it sounds like these past couple of days that operation is getting cleaner by the day.
Right. And Caleb said it. I think he said it on the New Heights podcast, if you watched it with the Kelsey brothers. I think the biggest difference between last year and this year is really going to be year two in Ben Johnson's offense. It's nothing new. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some new concepts that Ben's going to put out there. That's just who Ben Johnson is. But like, this is the first year Caleb is not having to deal with a new staff. In honestly, in a, what college he transferred from Oklahoma to USC to Chicago. Eberflus got fired,
Yep.
and like there's definitely a consistency in that locker room right now, and that only builds confidence for Caleb moving forward in this summer. Um, and you see him working with the receivers out in California. You see him talking about meeting with Ben Johnson every day and meeting with the tight ends every day. And it just seems like there's a lot of continuity between the offense, and that just makes the sky the limit, really.
It's just going to make the whole operation that much smoother because we've been so accustomed to just so much clunkiness on the offensive side of the ball. And
Right.
that's, due to part of us not having continuity on that side of the ball in a decade, maybe more.
You saw it last year. It was so choppy the first what? Trying to think. When did it start to turn around? Maybe that Minnesota game at Minnesota?
Yeah, maybe that. I mean, I'd argue even later than that. That game was still choppy itself. Like even, like we wouldn't even turn it. We would have, we come out with a good first 15, the script, and then once we get off the script, we'd struggle a little bit and then pick it up back in the second half. So this year we have to get more efficient in like the end of half scenarios in the second, and then coming out in the third with fire. But that's back to that talking point of the continuity, and that's something that's only going to get smoother as time goes on in the Ben system.
For sure. Just hope everyone stays healthy through this offseason. I don't want to put any bad juju out in the atmosphere, but everyone stay healthy heading into training camp next month. I'm sure you'll come in for that. Maybe we'll go to training camp one day.
Yeah, dude,
For
absolutely.
sure. I always like to do that a day or two. But yeah, it's definitely creating huge buzz for this Bears team. And look, guys, yes, this team won the division last year, but I think they're still underdogs right now. They are. They are. They're still playing the underdog. Detroit is definitely still the favorite in the division, followed by Green Bay. But I think the Bears are probably neck and neck with Green Bay at this point. I haven't looked at the
I mean, me personally, I think we're neck and neck with everyone in the NFC North, and it's literally the divisions. It's just like last year. It's going to come down to division play, obviously, and we know that we're no stranger to that.
Right. I personally think Detroit will be better than they were last year. Just kind of honestly the same situation with Jared Goff and the offensive coordinator. Who is it? Morton, I think is his last name. Johnny Morton.
Drew Petzing they brought in actually. We interviewed him for a head coaching role.
They brought in a new offensive coordinator. I
Yeah,
don't
they
even
get Petzing
remember that.
from Arizona.
I
So actually, I like the hire there, and so I do agree with you that Detroit's going to be better than last year, and yet they still have some moving pieces and some obviously new offensive coordinator, new play caller coming in, so that's going to take time to kind of settle in and gel.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's a good call. I kind of remember it, but I still forgot about it.
Yeah, because Dan Campbell took over play calling, I think, in
Right,
the back
right,
half.
you're right. You're right. So I guess they're going to be learning some new schemes over there. When's the Bears' first game? I think it's Thanksgiving, right, against Detroit. That's their first game against them. They don't play before then, right?
Yes, I believe that's the first one. Because then I think the next time we play Detroit is later in the year at
Well, I
home.
think it's week 17. I want to say, right, and then we
Yeah,
finish at Minnesota, right?
yeah,
Yes. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna see them later on at Thanksgiving, and yeah, I mean the division is definitely up for grabs like it was last year, and um, again, we had the second hardest schedule last year. We probably have the hardest schedule this year. But it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter when the ball is kicked off on September. What would that be? September 8th, September 7th. What's the exact date of kickoff?
Not
No,
sure.
I'm gonna
But
tell you right
you want to
now.
know why it doesn't matter that we have a hard schedule is because we have a
September
QB,
6th.
we have a
Yeah,
QB, and we have a head coach that rise to the occasion in big games, and
right. Exactly.
that's period. That's the winning formula in this league, and it's the modern day formula is your QB and head coach combo, and we got a hell of a one. But one last point I kind of want to touch on before we dip out here quick is how kind of sneakily these wide receiver additions have been early on this offseason. They've been flashing their abilities the past couple of
Yes.
days. I personally wrote on Khalif Raymond in an article earlier in the offseason when we picked him up on how vital of a pickup and kind of underrated of a pickup this was going to be for this team. And that showed right at the podium when he came in. He was talking about his work ethic, staying late to catch jugs with Xavion or Luther, any of those guys. So he really is just a glue guy, and he's going to put his head down and do whatever he has to do in this offense to get his looks, get his touches. He's going to block his ass off. He can run from anywhere in the offensive slot out wide. He's super twitchy. So what I've seen coming out is him and Xavion have been flashing their abilities early, which is awesome to see. Xavion looks like a natural route runner with late flashing hands, which is always great to see out of these wide receivers. So the initial scouting report was Xavion was kind of just a gadget guy. I'm kind of not on the opposite hash of that. I think Xavion is a real weapon. And that was kind of my initial thought when we drafted him, and looking out at how LSU used him in the backfield and out wide and in the special teams game. I think that can translate to us. So I feel like Xavion can be an extreme playmaker and X factor for this offense.
For sure. And Caleb gave him some praise today in the presser that
Yeah, I saw that.
Javion's a dog, man. Like he's gonna be. I don't know much about Kenny make a big time catch. We know that he's really good after the catch. We know he's gonna probably be good in the backfield when they use him back there. But I think we found a diamond in the rough, Sam. I really do.
I
I
agree.
really do. He's definitely gonna get some more touches now that DJ's gone. And Khalif Raymond will also get some more touches as well. But obviously the main point is Rome taking that big step. We know honestly, I think we already know what Luther's going to be next year. Luther's going to be a beast.
He's going to be a star. He's
I
stud.
think we know
We
that.
knew that as soon as we drafted Luther. He shouldn't have fell to 39, and he's going to make the league pay, like he said.
100%. 100%. I feel like we already know what Luther's going to be. But we don't know. There's a lot of question marks with Rome right now.
There
A
is.
lot of question marks. It's a big year for him. And this is a big year for Xavion Thomas as well to make a name for himself, kind of like Luther did last year. I know
Yeah.
Xavion's not as big of a prospect, but we've seen receivers who went undrafted make a name for themselves their rookie year. So, but training camp starts next month. A lot of Bears news coming up. We're getting there, Sam. 96 days away.
Get me there, Joe. Get me there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That will do it for the Shy City Den. We will be back on Sunday night recapping the Giants series, talking maybe more Bears, talking the White Sox, what they do this weekend against the Dodgers, recapping it all here on the Shy City Den. For Sam Van Cleve, I am Joey Glickman. Thank you for listening to the Shy City Den.